Welcome back, guys, to another faction preview for Warcraft Total War. So this time we'll be doing the Farraki, or the Sand Trolls, and recently I've finished the campaign for them. So I figured I would tell you guys what I learned from using all their different units. So, like usual, we're going to start off with their weakest unit, the Sand Fury Zombies, and just like any other zombie unit in the game, like, well, at least most of the zombie units, they're very bad. Extremely low attack, extremely low defense. They may seem cheap, so they might seem like a good deal, but no, like, they're not even good as cannon fodder, because an ability or trait that isn't listed here is that they're very slow moving, extremely slow moving. So even as cannon fodder, they're worthless because you can't move them in place. So never get these guys, not even as a garrison. Try to get rid of them as soon as you can in the beginning of your campaign. Then we have a much better unit, one that's actually worth recruiting. The Sand Fury Warriors, 9 attack, 11 defense, pretty cheap. I would say these guys are good for, you know, making use of the free upkeep of militia units, garrisoning your cities and just making sure nobody takes them. But I wouldn't use them in battle because they don't have anything special that makes them worth it. So only use them as a garrison. Same with these guys, unless, so these are the Sand Fury Nomad Spearmen. I would say same thing, use them as a garrison unless you're fighting a very cavalry heavy faction, like a human faction like Theramore. Then you can have these guys in battle, but besides that, I wouldn't really recruit them for anything other than a garrison, because low attack, low defense, low hit points. Now we have a unit that's actually worth using in battle, the Sand Fury Blood Drinkers. They're very good. They were surprisingly good. I was actually surprised the first time I used them because they're very cheap, so I assumed they would be mediocre, and their defense was kind of low, and I just didn't think they were that special. So their attack is high. They have 2 hit points instead of the usual 1, but the abilities are what make them really good. They have armor penetration, and they have the war cry that improves their attack, and they can go berserk, so they kind of, the AI takes control and they just go from unit to unit fighting and destroying everything in sight. This happened during one of my battles, and I didn't know that I wasn't familiar with them, so I didn't know that they would go berserk, and when they did, it was very effective. They just cleaned up the whole map. Definitely worth recruiting, especially because they're very cheap. Then we have the Sand Fury Zealots, which are kind of like an inferior version of these guys. So I would say worth recruiting, but definitely prioritize the Blood Drinkers. But these guys are not bad. 13 attack, 10 defense, cheap, war cry ability. But I think what makes them a lot less effective than the previous unit is that they don't have armor penetration. Then we have the Enchanted Tiki Warriors, and they're not bad. 13 attack, 13 defense, and they're pretty cheap. So they're kind of a decent mid-tier unit, especially for that price. Then we have the General's Bodyguard for the Sand Trolls, and it's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the best General's Bodyguard as far as they go. It's like a mid-tier General's Bodyguard. It does have free upkeep, so definitely whenever you can adopt a character, always accept it, because there's no upkeep, so you can only benefit from it. So 12 attack, 15 defense, 2 hit points, armor penetration, which is really good, but not a General's Bodyguard comparable to that of the High Elves or the Scourge, so kind of mid-tier. Then we have the Farraki Shadow Blades, and these guys are definitely worth recruiting. They're a little bit pricey, but they have 15 attack, 13 defense, armor penetration. They scare enemy units, and also they have this trait they're like rogues, so they can hide anywhere. So you can use them to lay an ambush. You can use them very, very tactically. So if you're smart about it, they're very, very good. Then we have Farraki Wild Raptors. I never actually recruited these guys. I'm not really sure. Maybe you need to control a special settlement to be able to recruit them. Maybe Ungaro. But they're very good. 18 attack, 18 defense, 5 hit points. They scare enemy units. Definitely worth recruiting, but I've never actually used them myself. But just based on the stats, they seem very good. Then we have the Hydras, and a lot of other factions have these guys, and I've definitely used them before. They're very effective. 25 attack, 23 defense, 5 hit points. A little bit pricey, but like I've said before, the price is worth it just because of how good the stats are, and they scare enemy units, lower their morale. Then we have the Sand Fury Axe Throwers, and you should definitely recruit these guys because while their stats seem low, they're very cheap, so very good early game, and they have armor penetration. So it's pretty rare to have a unit that's this cheap that has the armor penetration trait. So definitely recruit a lot of these guys, especially when you're broke early in the campaign. Definitely recruit them. And then same thing applies to these guys. Their stats are a little bit low, but they're cheap and have armor penetration. So also recruit these guys, just like the Axe Throwers. And then we have the Sand Fury Nomad Bowmen. They're pretty bad, and I would not really recruit them because there's a more advanced version of them, the Sand Fury Archers, which not only do higher missile damage, they also have armor penetration, which makes them much more effective than the basic archers. So definitely recruit a lot of the Sand Fury Archers. They are the best missile unit of the whole faction, not including of course the spellcasters. And speaking of the spellcasters, that's who we're talking about now, the Farraki Hydromancers. And they're kind of a weird spellcaster unit. When I was using them, even though it says 11 missile attack, I think they have a very slow rate of shooting their magic, so they were not as effective as they seem. However, they're kind of a good tanking spellcaster unit, which is kind of weird because of the 3 hit points, 26 defense. They're kind of odd. If you have no other spellcaster unit, I would recruit them, but I would actually prioritize the other Farraki spellcasters, such as these guys, and that's who we're talking about next. The Sand Fury Darkcasters. So the Darkcasters, they're pretty good. Kind of mid-tier spellcaster unit. 15 magic attack, 11 defense, 1 hit point. So like most spellcasters, they're pretty squishy, but their damage output is much higher than these guys. Then we have the Sand Fury Shadow Callers. They have very similar stats to the Darkcasters, but a slightly higher attack. So definitely recruit these guys, but still kind of a mid-tier spellcaster unit. Then we have the Witch Doctors, which are a little bit better. Same missile attack as the Darkcasters, but still, mid-tier, nothing special. Definitely worth recruiting. Then we have the Mounted Sand Fury Warriors, and they're kind of pretty weak for cavalry. The only good thing that I see about them is that if you're facing off against enemy cavalry that they use horses, then that will lower their morale, but their defense is really low. They're pretty squishy. Then we have the Mounted Sand Fury Nomad Spearmen, and they're also just really bad cavalry. I wouldn't recruit them. And because these guys have a very large unit roster, I have a second army over here with the remaining units. Troll Raptor Bowmen, they're not bad. Horse Archers are pretty good in Medieval 2, so I would definitely prioritize these guys over the 2 cavalry units that I talked about earlier, because at least they have a missile attack. Then we have the armored scorpions, which are definitely worth recruiting. These guys are amazing. 20 attack, 22 defense, 8 hit points, bonus against enemy cavalry, a special attack. They scare enemy units, and you get all of this for 800. Recruit these guys as soon as you see that they're available. Always keep recruiting them. As soon as the recruitment pool allows you to recruit them, get them right away. Extremely good unit. Then we have the Farraki Ballista. And honestly, it's okay, but I would prioritize the Catapult. The Catapult is much better. And now we have a cavalry unit that's actually really good. I use them very effectively against Bronze Drake dragons, and I managed to kill a lot of them with these guys. So what makes them good is that they have a missile attack, but they also have armor penetration. And they scare horses like other raptor units, but definitely worth recruiting because of the armor penetration trait. And then the catapult that I mentioned earlier, for some reason it's very good. I've had battles in earlier campaigns where they were extremely devastating, and they're very cheap to recruit as well. So whenever you can, recruit these guys and try them out. Very good siege unit. And then we have the Bat Riders, and they're okay. I've talked about them before. Not the best missile cavalry unit, but they're okay, and they also inspire nearby units, so you get that benefit. And that's it for this faction. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you'll try this faction. I hope you also enjoy the campaign that I did playing as them. They had a very interesting starting location compared to other factions. I enjoyed it a lot. And as you can see, they have a very extensive unit roster. So if you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.